Hello Internet, so nice to see you. I got an interesting comments on one of my short videos, and I think we need to clarify that.
This is just a standard chord progression in C. I'm pretty sure moving from C major to A minor doesn't count as a key change.
And why would it not? Because they have the same notes or because they are the same, but C major and A minor are not the same. And I've been receiving similar comments for so long at this point that I think we need to clarify exactly why C major and A minor are not the same and why modulating between them is actually pretty hard and it can actually be pretty interesting, okay? So, even if you're an advanced player, follow along with me because we're gonna get into some interesting sounds later in this video. C major and A minor, are they the same key? Well, first of all, no, otherwise why we call them in a different way, okay? If they were the same thing, we'd have one name for them, not two, okay? Second, one of them is a major key, C major, and one of them, A minor, is a minor key. And we study, they tell us at least, okay, and you can verify, that major key sounds generally happy and minor keys sound generally sad. So if C major and A minor are the same thing, does it mean there is no difference between a major key and a minor key? No, of course there is, okay? So at this point people are like, but C major and A minor have the same note. Well, newsflash here, I am sorry if you believe that, but C major and A minor don't have the same notes. C major and A minor don't have the same note. Now, C major, it's C, D, E, F, G, A, B. And that's it. A minor, it's not one scale. Natural minor is one scale, and the notes of natural minor are A, B, C, D, E, F, G. And yes, the notes of natural minor are the same notes as C major, but that's not minor, that's natural minor. And I blame practically every single internet teacher here that they don't make this distinction and they make your life harder. Because in minor, you can move this G to a G sharp. They will call this the harmonic minor scale. And they can also move this F to an F sharp and then the G sharp too, creating what we call the melodic minor scale. And these things are used all together to create what we call minor. Okay? Especially on the harmonic minor scale, we use this G sharp to create chords, especially if we take the fifth chord, which are going to become then an E major, not an E minor. Okay? Here, you don't have this thing. G doesn't change. G is G, doesn't become G sharp. You don't have a major. You can build it if you want, but the standard major scale does not have a G sharp. Period. It doesn't. Okay? Makes sense? You could occasionally have an A flat, which is a different note, but that's another thing, and it's still a pretty big alteration, okay? While those are considered natural and normal, okay? That is one difference, but there is another bigger difference that people don't consider, and it's absolutely important. And the difference is this. The tonic of C major is C, and the tonic of A minor is A. And the tonic is the most important thing ever, because this is the note that your brain assigns as the main note in the piece. When you start listening to a piece in C major, if the musician is competent, okay, your brain attaches to this C major and thinks that's the main pitch, and everything else is understood in terms of that pitch. You don't realize that. Your ear does that automatically, but that's what your ear does. When you hear a piece in A minor, instead, your ear attaches to this A. The notes are not really important. What's important are the intervals of those notes over this tonic. So a D note here sounds in a way, but a D note here sounds in a different way because the tonic is different. Okay? It's kind of hard to understand at the beginning because you're thinking it's the same note, it's the same frequency, but your ear is not very interested in frequencies. Your ear is interested in intervals. Your ear, unless you have perfect pitch, your ear cannot hear an isolated D and think that's a D. Your ear hears the scale and think the D is the fourth note in that scale. okay? Because your ear cannot hear the absolute frequency, but can hear the relative frequency of this D on this A. So it's all very abstract if you want, but the point is, a C major piece will sound major, so happy-ish, and an A minor piece will sound minor, so sad-ish, okay? They're not the same key. This also means that changing keys, so creating a modulation from C major to A minor and vice versa, it's not trivial at all. In fact, it's one of the hardest modulations. If you think about it for a moment, because since all the notes are the same, you really need to put some of those notes in and make sure your chord progression takes you to the other key, and if you don't do it properly, you are still in C major. I cannot just play something in C major and then stay on A minor and think I moved to A minor. I didn't. I'm still in C major. Okay, the A minor chord is also inside here. To move to from C major to A minor, I need to put some of those notes. Now the comment you read was a comment on one of my short videos, and indeed that's exactly what I'm doing in the short video. I am in C major, okay, and then from this C major, I put an F sharp and then a G sharp, and now I am in A minor. I'm going to break this down in a moment. Right now I want you to listen for a moment. So I am in C major here, okay, and I can make it a bit longer, okay. So I'm playing, I don't know, C, F, G, C, 1, 4, 5 in C major. Then I'm playing this thing here, then this, okay, then this, and then you hear that something changed. You hear the mood of the piece has moved, okay? Before I was here, I'm still in C major. I start to move somewhere else. Now it's pretty clear I'm moving somewhere else. And now I finally move somewhere else. And that's A minor. And you can hear the mood here. It's much different than what it was before. So C major and A minor are not the same thing, okay? We have to remember that when some people say C major and A minor are the same thing, they kind of use this as a shorthand with the C major scale and the A natural minor scale have the same notes. Okay, it's a long phrase, so I wonder they use that. But they are not the same thing. They just contain the same notes, and there's more to a key than the notes. So now, what I did do exactly here. So I'm gonna transcribe very fast this piece for you. Okay? Just a little thing I'm playing. Okay? So those are the chords I'm playing. I'm gonna explain what they are as we go. So the first chord is just a C major. The notes are C, E, and C again. I don't have the fifth. I can put the 15. You can just put an 8 here and get the 15. But since I'm doing everything with 3 notes per chord, I just keep going with the texture. Okay. The next chord, it's still a C, but with a bass of E. So it's a C chord in first inversion. That's an E note, that's G and C. Okay. It's just the same chord. I'm still there. But why am I doing this? Because I'm setting up this bass note here to create this bass line here. This bass line will be E, F sharp, G sharp, and A. So having the F sharp and the G sharp here will take me straight into the key of A minor, because those notes are in the key of A minor, but are not in the key of C major. So it's a way to signal that I'm changing key. Okay? I'm using the notes that I have that are different between the two keys. What is this chord? Well, it's an alteration of a chord that is built in the A minor scale, where the F becomes an F sharp. But by and large, you can write this as a D7 with a bass of F sharp. There is no fifth, there is no A. Okay, so it's a D7 with a bass of F sharp. The important point is that it contains the F sharp more than anything else. And you use this because it has one note in common with the chord before and one note in common with the chord after. Okay, more than thinking of this functionally, you just think of it contrapuntally, meaning, hey, there's a note in common here, a note in common there, and another note is exactly the note I want, F sharp. Okay, so it's kind of interpolated in between the chord. This, it's an E7 with a bass of G sharp. Like this one has no fifth, while this one has no root. Okay, there is no E here. You could put the E, you could put the E here if you want to play a fifth here, but there's not. Okay, so it's G sharp, D, and B. The G sharp is the third of this chord, the D is the seventh of this chord, and the B is the fifth of this chord. Now this B here is quite important right now, because then you hold this B into the next chord, which is A minor, and this B here is an add 9. And then you resolve the add 9 down to the A, so just A minor. The first chord is just C major. The next chord is C with a bass of B, we are still there. Then I get this chord here, and already I am in the melodic minor scale, A melodic minor scale. Okay. And I get this chord here, which again, I could play the E, the root of the E or not. Then I'm holding this B note here when I play the A minor, creating an A minor at 9, and then later I can resolve this dissonance down if I want to. It's flavorful, okay, sounds good. That's a modulation between C major and A minor. As you see, it's not trivial at all. Okay, it's not. It's linear. It's very linear, like E, F sharp, G sharp, A. But it's not simple. That's not the only possible modulation, by the way. That's just a one possible example. Okay, but it takes you smoothly from C major to A minor, and you can feel that mood change. And when you start playing a chord progression in A minor here, after that, you feel that the mood has completely changed. Changing key from C major to A minor actually counts as a change of key, and it's a pretty big change of key. Okay, there are several different notes between C major and A minor, namely F sharp and G sharp. Okay, because we have to calculate not just the natural minor scale, but the harmonic and melodic minor scale. It makes musical sense because you can feel it, and it's a pretty big feeling. This is a very, very, very basic modulation, a very, very simple one. Okay, there's way more complex stuff in there. If you guys want to know more about modulation, I just launched a new course called Modulation Mastery. It's not a beginner course, but if you already know some of your chords, you can go and take it, okay? And this course drills down deeply in any kind of modulation. This is a simple cadential modulation, okay? There are several other kinds of modulation, chromatic modulation and harmonic modulation, modern steering modulation, etc., etc., etc. There are many of those, okay? That's a simple cadential modulation, the most common kind. Depending on the effect you want, there's much, much more to be discovered. I find that modulations and key change are the least, the topic in which you find the least information on the internet. So I created this new course specifically to give you guys some knowledge about that. And the course is geared toward writing modulation. So it's done in a practical way. You have a song, you want to join to different pieces of the song, and you want to do it in a meaningful way. This course teaches you how to do it. I don't care about analyzing modulation. I don't care about all the academic theory. This is a practical course that helps you writing music. So if you want to get it, you'll find the link on the top right on this video, and then you can go and get it. This is Tommaso Zillia of musictheoryforguitar.com, and until next time, enjoy.